Hey, everybody. Welcome to another webinar from Teradek with myself and Tyler Riddle here next to me. Uh, Tyler, we're talking about things to talk about in this chat. So I'm just going to call it out because we couldn't really figure out anything. It was between race cars and the weather. So anywhere in between those would be great. Um, but how is the weather down there? I'm up in Portland. It's nice. It's not raining. So
Yeah, sunny as always here. Yeah,
does it ever change?
great.
I don't think it ever changes, does it?
It's usually good most of the time, and that is the draw of Southern California.
Yeah, that's why everybody wants to be down there.
Yeah,
Unless you like the rain, you like the green, come up north. You know,
yeah. We have artificial green here. We use sprinklers.
sprinklers and water bills. Yay!
Yeah,
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming to join us today. Today, we're going to talk about the latest firmware release for Prism IP encoders, and we're going to kind of give it a little bit of time until I get a notice from Adrian here that we actually have people watching, which is the point of this entire webinar. I was going to say podcast, but that's not right. We can turn this into a podcast later if you want, if anybody really wants to hear us talk. But for now, we're going to give it a little bit of time so everybody kind of comes in, and then we'll get into the deck that we have prepared and talk about the new features that we just released with this 2.21 firmware release. So, you want to give me a good thumbs up or a go ahead? So we're gonna actually sit here for 2 minutes. So we were talking about race cars.
yeah.
So
We love race cars.
we do love race cars. What you said we had something coming up soon. What was that with racing?
Yeah, so we've actually worked a bit, and you'll see more of this coming down the pipe. We've actually worked a bit with Supercars Australia. They utilize our stuff for streaming out of their cars, and we have a fantastic three modem solution for them. They use the Prism mobiles, and they've got a couple of events coming up. It's the end of their season. I think they have two more races or something like that. I think the big one is, I want to say in October, but they have one more race in 2 weeks that they are. I think it's trials before then the October race, but very exciting to work with them. Supercars Australia. And then we have some guys out of the UK as well that are actively with our device. I think Barton Racing
Hmm.
is their name. So they're putting our prisms inside of the cars for monitoring and live streaming out. And what's great, and we had the Circle of America's use case that we put out there. What is fantastic about it is that as you're going around these tracks, the cellular kind of goes up and down, and the bonding protocol just rides that.
Right.
And so it's a nice way of being able to not just have a single modem connection, because we do have users that use that for really low latency applications,
Mhm.
um, but to really have a reliable solution for streaming that out.
Yeah, I mean, you said Circuit of the Americas, CODA here in Austin, Texas. We just did that with a backpack, and because that circuit has so many ups, elevation. It's not a huge elevation change, but just in the way that the track is laid out, you actually get towards 10, 11, and 12. Those turns out there, you lose a lot of that service, and we had an instance where we put a Prism mobile backpack with 6 modems in it, and it was the first time the director could actually sit back and just watch the feed come in instead of hover over that cut button just in case it was gonna cut out. So using obviously other competitor products, not Teradek products for sure, but yeah, it was a nice change of pace for them to see that in action. So it looks like we have some people coming in. Some hellos from Rome. Hello, Rome. Love Italy. Been a couple times: Oklahoma, Toronto, San Diego, and Brazil, North Carolina. Gustavo from Vidium. How you doing, buddy? You keep WhatsApping me early in the morning when
I
I get.
told him to this morning.
Oh, really? That's great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. But I got it. So we're on board with everything you guys are doing down in Brazil. So thanks a lot, everybody, for showing up right
Yeah.
now. So have we gone past the 2 minute mark? You think is it time to start this thing? Adrian, give me a thumbs up if you are good to go, and we can continue on, or thumbs down if you think we should just keep talking and words need to keep spilling out of my mouth in a random way.
Let's go.
All right. So let's go over to our presentation now. Go. I got the big go button. So, like we said, today we're here to talk about the latest firmware update 2.21 from Teradek for our IP products. What we're going to talk about today is end-to-end multi-track audio. So we actually are passing multi-track audio from our encoder through core and then back down into the decoder now. So you can actually pass full 8 channels of audio over an IP stream. We're also going to talk about a new feature that allows you to do camera to cloud directly to an Amazon S3 bucket. So bypassing core, any of the native uh, uh, features that we have in our system right now, you can actually go to your own S3 bucket. It's 100% secure, and you can just dump it straight into that directly from the device. We're also going to talk about Wi-Fi hotspotting now. So now that we have I have a Prism mobile here behind me, and I'll show you how to set up your Wi-Fi hotspot using this, and you can access that from any of your devices there. And we're also going to talk about a couple new protocols that we're supporting as well. So getting right into this here, let's go into multi-track audio, and Tyler is going to present a demo at that of this at the end. So let's move on with our slide deck.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are what is what is a channel and what is a track? This is a confusing question that I get a lot. I just want to send 8 audio tracks, or I just want to send 4 stereos, or I just want to do whatever, or a 7.1. Well, what is a channel and what's a track? And I kind of had to think about this and say it without saying the words track or channel to to give a description. But I'm going to just read this. And a channel is the digital audio signal from the SDI or the HDMI input that are assigned to the specific positions within the encoding, and it looks like I doubled up there, of a track, such as the left and right of a stereo. So the channels might be your SDI 1 or SDI 2, or SDI 3, or your HDMI 8-channel audio input. Now, tracks, for example, are a combination of those channels, and those can be whatever you want. So mono can be 1 channel, stereo can be 2 channels, so like a left and right. A 5.1 can be 6 channels coming in, and a 7.1 can be 8 channels. Now, each of those are a single track. So when the audio is formed, it is something that is like you have the video track and then you have the audio track. Now you can have multiple audio tracks at once, and this is kind of what we're talking about. If you want to go to the next slide. All right, so best practices for this. We can do all sorts of things with these 8 channels coming in. In fact, we're super flexible, probably one of the most flexible encoders on the market. So why use a stereo audio track? Well, first of all, stereo audio is generally more compatible with third parties. A lot of people will send 4 stereo audio pairs or 8 stereo audio pairs or something like that. And a lot of third-party decoders and that sort of thing are expecting stereo audio, and that's it. That's all they can handle.
Mhm.
They deal with stereo audio, and that's all you get. If you send them mono audio, what will happen is you'll get a 1 on SDI, and you'll get a 3, and you'll get a 5 coming in. We've seen this multiple times where people try to send 8 audio tracks over mono and then to a third-party decoder, and it just never aligns right.
Mhm.
Um, so also, you have to think about RTMP or how you send out RTMP. RTMP is a stereo-only technology. And this is we will kind of talk about this a little bit more as our firmware and what we can do in core grows. But the idea is with stereo pairs that you can peel off stereo pairs and send them into different things, maybe for multi-language. So if you wanted to have, say, an SRT into Wowza that could then translate that all those channels and present it as an HLS feed that has multiple language selection. So that's one use case that you could use this for, and it would use those stereo pairs to do that. And then mono. Why would you use mono? Well, stereo uses 2 channels, as we already talked about, to encode at, say, like 128 kilobits per second. Well, what is that on a per channel basis? That's 64 kilobits per second, approximately. When you do mono and you do 128 kilobits per second, well, now you have 1 channel at 128 kilobits per second. So you can obviously double the bit rate for that stereo pair and get the same result. But generally, you get a higher quality per channel for that. The same thing applies to like 7.5.1 and 7.1. You get a higher quality using mono at that rate than
So,
7.1 and 5.1.
so a question to you though, with this, since we're talking about stereo and 5.1 surround sound,
Mhm.
would there be what would be the preferred practice if you're doing a 5.1? Where would your bit rate need to be?
So 5.1, generally your bit rate needs to be in the 500s, I would
So
say. Yeah.
512K usually, and then 7.1 you're looking at 768, which we can do from this side on our encoders, not a problem. So just to consider if you are going to be sending 5.1 and 7.1 to kind of up that bit rate so you maintain the fidelity of your audio on top of that.
And it depends on your application. If you just need like a 5.1 dummy track and audio fidelity isn't that important, you can do down to 128 kilobits per second.
Right.
And that's up to you. You are welcome to hang yourself on that, but just please keep in mind what you are sending out.
Well,
And
it splits that whatever that rate is, it's going to split it between those channels. So stereo, like you said, mono is going to be summed, and then 5.1 is going to split it into 6 different discrete channels there. So
yes,
yeah.
another use for mono is actually utilizing dual mono in a stereo configuration. So we've got some people from Europe that want to cram as many languages as possible into their streams. So one thing that they could do with our limitation of 8 input channels is they could actually have 8 languages coming in and then just double up. So you could have a stereo that has 1 and 1, 2 and 2,
Mhm.
3 and 3, 4 and 4. Now, moving on, let's go to the next slide. I wanted to talk about what Teradek supports.
Okay.
So Teradek supports 8 channels of input on SDI or HDMI. We support 8 audio tracks in addition to that, and they can be any combination of mono, stereo, 5.1, or 7.1. And then we also support audio track reception on the decoder with remapping of any of those 8 audio tracks. So 8 audio tracks with 8 channels inside of them to the SDR HDMI. So basically, you could have 64 audio tracks coming in, and you can pick 8 of those. And I'll show you some of the defaults that we put in. So one other thing that I did not put here, but updated, we also have audio support pass-through on Core. So this is something we just launched with our encoders. Using the bonding protocol, you can send any combination of tracks, and those will pass through on SRT and MPEG TS to their destinations. So just wanted to add that there too.
Nice.
Let's get into a quick demo here on what it looks like in the encoder.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, if I disable the multi-track, I just want to, so let me save this here. So I've got a little generator coming in. It's just giving me 1K tone pulses across all 8 tracks. You can see in my 7.1 single track mode that it's sending all 8 tracks over a single, all 8 channels over a single track. We also have orders of those channels. So if you need to flip the low frequency and the center channel, there's some people that need specific things, especially in the cine industry. But we have that capability for single audio track. Now, if I enable multi-track, I've already set this up, but let's go through the tracks here. So I've got, I've set up 4 stereo tracks to pipe through 8 audio channels. And this would be a typical setup that one would want to do when they're sending around stereo pairs. So if I go to track 1, I've set this for 128 kilobits per second, and my front left is 1, and my front right is 2. Then my second track, my front left is 3, and my front right is 4. In my third track, the front left is 5, and front, you see where I'm going with this. And the fourth track is 7 and 8.
There's a pattern that's repeating.
Yes. So actually in 2.22, we have built in some presets. It's actually already done where you can click this and it'll make it for you. So we have 2 channels and 4 channels that's coming down the pipe as well, just to improve this. Yeah. So all of that is piping out, and what this does is I'm sending an SRT over to here to this decoder, and on this side I've enabled the multi-track mode.
Go ahead and update your tab so we can.
Oh, I'm sorry. Share this tab instead. My bad. So on this side, you can see over here that I've got 8 audio outputs. Now, when I set this channel mode to 8 channels, we've specifically set some presets for stereo pairs because we believe that most of you use this sort of multi-channel or multi-track application in this method. So you can see that I have 8 audio tracks that I can choose from. Those 8 audio tracks could be anything. They could be 7.1, they could be stereo, they could be mono. We can access any of them. So you pick your audio track, and then you would pick your channel from that audio track. So let's say I had audio track 1 with a 7.1. I could actually pick that channel here from that 7.1. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, it's just going to be stereo pairs. So I have channel or track 1, and then channel 1, track 1, channel 2. And this is where people get confused. I've seen this a couple times because they think, oh, well, I'm going to be track 1, channel 3. Well, that's not quite how it works. It's actually track 2, channel 1. Because this is a stereo pair, I am accessing the next track that is not part of the same track. It's another track. So track 2, channel 1. Track 2, channel 2, and so on and so forth. You can see the pattern. Track 3, channel 1. Track
These
3,
are
channel
these
2.
are packaged. So the track is the package, and then you pick the channel within the package on which one you want to display on the output of your embedded baseband video.
That's right. And then the embedded video, as you can see on the right here, has, because I've set it up correctly, has all 8 coming through. Now, if I want to break this, I'm going to go ahead and click 6 and click save. And you'll notice, you see how the track or the channel disappeared right here on the left. So if I want to break this one as well, I'm going to click 4. And you can see they're all they're falling here. So we want to, of course, correct that and make sure we have proper feedback. Anyways,
Nice.
this is how you use multi-track. We are improving this over time and making it easier and easier to use. Hope you enjoy the feature.
Nice. Good. Nice little demo there. I'm going to go back to our presentation really quick here, and we're going to move on to the Amazon S3 bucket and our camera to cloud proxy up to that. So getting started through here, if you want to take it again, Tyler.
Yeah. So one of the things with the AWS S3 bucket is that you can spin this up by yourself, but it does require a little bit of setup to do. So in order to make this happen, you have to set up the bucket, number one, and then number two, there's no multi-interface uploads. Amazon actually obfuscates this upload technology, so we can't actually get at the file to upload it in multiple parts. So it's a technological limitation to the AWS, but it does work pretty well for single channel uploads. Now,
So
let me show.
what is the multiple interface? What native integration do we have that uses that multiple interface?
Yeah, so with Frame.io and Sony C, they both support our multiple interface upload, so that you can use multiple modems to upload and split that file across those modems.
Yeah.
And it's because we can get at the file and upload it in different parts and then finish the file.
Right. And that speeds up your whole camera to cloud workflow, hopefully by double, using multiple interfaces. So back to S3 here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things we have to do first is set up what's called an IAM user. So in this process, you can see that I've set up a user in AWS. I've sort of covered these things up, and then I have to add a permission policy. Now, this is a variable thing, but essentially what you have to do is have read and write access to the S3 bucket. This may be an ACL on your side. Some entities like to guard this sort of thing, so you need to talk to your IT department, or if you're setting this up for your broadcast, you can just set it up with administrative access and there's no problem to it. A really safe one, if you just need to make it work, is the Amazon S3 full access. And I don't know if that's readable there, but Amazon S3 full access permission, that'll make sure that it actually works for you, for those of you that are spinning this up by yourself. Otherwise, talk to your IT department and say, this is what we need to do. We need to read and write for this.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that you need to do is create an access key for that user. So in that same user thing, you have to go and create this access key. You click security credentials and then you click create access key. It will ask you to download this thing. Don't lose it. You only get it once. So if you do lose it, you do have to create another one. Then what you need to do is set up permissions on the S3 bucket. If you have a really tight environment, please work with your IT department to get those permissions made up. One of the things that we have, for example, on our AWS is we have policies that are higher than the buckets, and so we can't do individual permissions on the buckets. But if you just spun up an AWS account on your own, you'll have full permissions to apply those to the buckets. So just be aware that those are some of the challenges that you're going to have to work through on your side. And then let's take a look at what this looks like.
And go for it, man.
All right. So first of all, you're going to go to Cloud Services. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy some stuff in here. And don't you guys dare use it, because I am going to delete this after this presentation.
Look at this. I'm gonna actually update it so that we are the only two people up here, and we can kind of hide your screen for a second.
No, they'll actually have to see it to
It's
get
fine.
through.
It's fine. We'll go back here in a second. But
Okay. So why not? No, you just put it. It's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, just trying to be.
I'm going to delete it.
All right.
It's a stupid test user.
Okay.
So in this case, the bucket that I have is called C2C test Teradek. So get back here. So C2C test Teradek is the name of my bucket. And then the region, let me grab this. The region, you use the short name of this region. So the US West one. And then the folder is something that you can actually choose or use an existing folder that's in there. I'm going to go, let me share this tab. This is my S3 bucket that I have here. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see. And I just had something that was called My Favorites. In here, I'll probably use another folder for the demo. And then what I think I will do is let's call this the webinar folder. And then this is where the magic happens. You guys will not be able to use this after this point. Oops. That's the secret key, and that's the access key.
All right.
Oh, you can't see it.
Save your tabs so we know where you're at.
Yeah. Okay, so you get to see it really quick, and then I'm going to link. All right.
Everybody better have a pretty good pause game going. You know, this bucket will be deleted by the time you see it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So with this, it has authorized me to join this bucket. So I'm part of the C2C, US West 1, and the webinar bucket, or the webinar folder. Now I'm going to go to my recording settings, and the sync with the S3 bucket is on. I already have an SD card in here, and just for kicks, I'm going to just press the start and stop recording. You can use this with camera events, or you could use it on a streaming event if you're using RTMP streaming or something like that. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and start recording. And sit here for a minute or two while it records my little demo video, and then I'm going to press stop. And if you look down here, what happens is this thing starts to upload. Mm-hmm. Go over to my
you want to check your bucket?
Share this tab. And on this side, you can see my folder has come through, or my file has come through. Mm-hmm. And you can see webinar, and you can see the file is making it through on this side. So that's how it works.
Nice. So on camera event, on streaming events, you can set that as a trigger, and it'll automatically populate up to S3 whenever it ends that file. So
Right.
yeah, awesome. That's excellent. Is there anything else that you want to show us there? Or are you good? You want to go back to your other tab real quick and show us where the file has been completed?
Let me do another recording.
Okay. You can see another one populate.
Are you doubling your there is a question here that says, are you doubling your throughput by going to an S3 bucket?
It depends on how many modems and how many ISPs, WAN connections you have connected. So
No, you aren't.
this this doesn't affect any of that. It's only, like we said, through Frame and through Sony C. That's where you're going to get that bandwidth doubling and increase. Is that it's actually using a bonded protocol to get the file up there and split it apart and repopulate that file in Sony C and Frame IO only. So uh, that's just for those two. S3 core, any of those type of things are going to use a single output and a single modem or a single connection to send that file up. We also have a question. What's the de-jitter setting? Can you expand on that a little bit, Tyler, for the de-jitter? There's a question from Survivor Records.
The de-jitter setting. Are we talking about the audio?
It was posted a little bit ago, but
okay. It must be on the
stream settings, yeah.
For the audio settings.
Mm-hmm.
We'll need to get some context on that specifically. What they're
okay. That's not a problem. Let's just keep moving here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk next. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Wi-Fi hotspot. This is something as a feature that has been asked for probably a couple of years now, and how to utilize our modems, utilize the internal connections to provide internet wherever you're at, or at least a hotspot that people can connect to and get out to the internet. So with this release, we actually included a Wi-Fi hotspot setting. And where that is underneath your network menu there. And you're going to go to Wi-Fi and drop down and choose whatever interface you're going to use to do that, to do that sharing. So this uses any interface as a hotspot connection. So when you're on set, like I said, you can go in and choose any interface that you'd like. But it does not impede any sort of stream or camera to cloud uploads at the same time. So you can continue to stream, continue to do your camera to cloud workflow, record on the device, anything else that you're typically going to be doing with an encoder. But what it does is it just opens up that platform so you can start using it as a hotspot as well. It's not necessarily, it's not bonding any of these connections together to make a bigger connection, a larger, faster connection. What it's going to do is it's going to use one connection, one WAN connection at a time to provide that. And that's where we kind of differ from other data aggregators as a video only aggregation system on our side. So the goal and the strategy here is to pick an interface that's not being used, that's not prioritized, and use that as your interconnect. So with that, I'm going to go and I'm going to demo and switch over to this tab over here. Switch tabs. There we go. Thanks, Chrome, for providing an update. So right now we're looking at our Prism interface. We have our wired connection. That's how I'm getting into it right now. And what I'll do is I'll turn this into an access point. And right here, you're going to see that this hotspot is already enabled. So what you can do is you can tell it that I want to use wired 1 as my hotspot source. And so it's going to pull internet from that source and provide a wireless access point that you can log into with your phone, your device, whatever that is, and you have full control over that. You can select your channels here for frequency control. So if you're in a frequency controlled environment, you can actually go through and check channel 1 like I did here. It's not showing the drop downs on the screen, so that's cool. So I'm just going to execute it on this side. You can actually go through and determine those like we used to do. And then add some security to it as well. So if you wanted to add a password, this is the password. Then you can keep people off of your network while providing a wireless access point anywhere you're at. So it's very easy to set up. It does benefit going into the UI itself and setting this up here so you have a little bit more control over your operations and all the different mechanics that you want to set up here. So Wi-Fi hotspotting is now enabled by default. It's a free upgrade. Like with our firmware, just update your firmware to the latest version. You guys are going to get this in the box moving forward. As well, post your questions in the tab too, and we'll get to those if you have any questions on this. Moving on, I'm going to go into protocol support. So what we've added to our system is direct WebRTC ingest and egress. So WIP and WEP, and this is why they're called that, WebRTC ingest and egress protocol. WIP essentially works as a caller, and WEP works as a listener if you think of it in an SRT sort of format. What it's going to do is it's going to sit there. If you're on the WEP, you're going to open that port and you're going to end up calling in from another platform. So this is using WebRTC, obviously. WebRTC is the ultra low latency protocol. This is something that we're using even on this webinar right now with the backend video switcher. All of the video that's coming in that you see us, Tyler and I in, is all WebRTC. Zoom uses WebRTC, vMix, if you're familiar with those systems. It's the same sort of video streaming protocol. So it also connects directly to Dolby I/O and Phoenix. Phoenix and Dolby are WEP and WIP integrators with us directly, and so we've actually built in functionality into the device that will allow you to connect very quickly to Dolby I/O. And what I'm going to do now is go into a live demo with that as well. So let's go back over to this other tab. And so right now I'm on one of my Prism Flexes, and streaming is disabled. I have 6 channels of audio coming in instead of 8, but it's a generator with tone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show Dolby I/O's monitoring side here. There's no video coming in. You can tell that there's no data being processed whatsoever through Dolby. And since I have this pre-programmed, because we like to test our stuff before we go live on a webinar, just like everybody should. I'm going to switch over. You can see here we have, I'm going to switch over to this tab because now you can see it. We have Dolby I/O, which is a direct integration, and you have to be sure to enter your stream name directly as it's written. Otherwise, it will not populate to that endpoint. And then you copy and paste your publishing token into this stream setting here. And if you want to auto start it, that's great. As soon as you hit save, it's going to start sending. So you can see that this is now playing out, and we're going to switch back over to our Dolby tab, and you can tell we're streaming live to Dolby right now. All the resolution and the rest of the metrics are coming in right now, going up at 264. I've set it for 1.5 megs, but it's a variable bit rate, so you can see the bit rate change here. And then we're delivering it in WebRTC as well. So if you take a look at the actual time code here and follow along here, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, we are very, very close to the actual time in Dolby itself. So that, if you have any questions about that and how to get into Dolby and make sure that this stream works well, please let us know. For that, we are actually at the end of our presentation. We wanted to show you those 4 new features and make sure that everybody knows what's happening with the Prism series and where we're going with it. There are a couple questions here left that I think we should probably touch on. Let's go back to our professional talk about it, talking heads look, and make it official. So the Survivor records came back. So the de-jitter for the multi-track audio setting, is that something you want to touch on? You're muted there, buddy.
Sorry. Maybe there was, I did not see a de-jitter setting. Maybe there was something there that was missed or was seen differently. If you want to hit me up at tyler.riddle@cs.inc, we can talk about it. But we didn't have a de-jitter settings directly in the audio per se. We do have delay settings.
Mhm.
And on the other side, we do have other delay settings. So maybe there was something not viewed right.
Okay.
I also wanted to talk about the doubling the throughput by going to your own S3 bucket. It's the same throughput as anything else. You would actually be doubling the throughput by going to Frame or going to Sony C.
Right.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
It's well, and it would be such a thing that it would be splitting across multiple interfaces at that point. I don't know if that's double the throughput, but it certainly is more reliable and more robust in that case. Because AWS is a single interface, it will take the priority interface on the device itself and upload over that.
Nice. One more from Survivor Records. How many clients could use the hotspot simultaneously, and what is the range and the limitation? So the hotspot does not have a user cap. So it's completely up to you how many users you want to fit onto there. So that's why I showed you where you could add the password and everything else so you can keep people from using that. Otherwise, you have a wide open network and it will start to affect your upload bandwidth the more people jump onto this. So there's not a delineation between sending video and then allowing a certain amount of bandwidth for the hotspot yet. So it is in a way where you could end up, affecting your streams and affecting your camera to cloud workflow if you do get too many people on this.
Please use this feature as a convenience. One of the things we actually want to do with this is extend this to the Ethernet port as well, and you'll see this in 222 coming down the pipe. But we want to extend this to the Ethernet, this sort of hotspot functionality where it can share the modems that are attached.
Mhm.
And so we want to make sure that people can connect their devices on one side and get them use our device as a pass-through. It's a nice, convenient feature. It's not meant to be a high-performance bonded cellular thing. It's meant to be for on the set, on the go type Wi-Fi.
In case you need it. If you needed to download that presentation last minute and you were out in the middle of nowhere, that use that, turn it off, and then make sure that you prioritize your stream and your cloud workflow over that. So it's not going to do you any good jumping 40 people on this thing. So
yeah. I
Um,
mean, you're welcome. You're welcome
you're
to
welcome
do
to try
that.
it.
But now, keep in mind, I also want to just, I love just giving a few caveats to what this thing can do. Our devices have different antennas on them. So if you have a Prism Flex, you're going to have those external antennas. If you have a Prism Mobile Mark II, you're going to have those external antennas. If you have the 5G unit, that's an internal antenna. So your range on that is not going to be as high. So just keep that in mind as you're planning out your purchases on this stuff. You may want to go with a Mark II if that's one of the use cases where you want to spread out Wi-Fi quite a bit.
Yeah.
So if it's just for use locally, no problem. The 5G's got you. It would work within 100 feet of the device or so.
And as far as like your maximum bandwidth, you're limited to what your cell modem, whatever it's going to connect over, you're limited to what that is going to be able to handle. And so, if you're in a rural area with very degraded cell connectivity, you're not going to see substantial speeds. But if you get into a 5G area where you're having, a very very high connectivity rate and low latency rate with your modems, then yes, you'll have a lot more throughput, but it's also going to affect everything else that happens on that device. Like we said, there's not a distinct delineation between your stream bandwidth and your Wi-Fi hotspot bandwidth. It will start pulling from your stream bandwidth the more you utilize it. So
but only on that interface. So if you would like, and this is something that you can do, you could just say, hey, this modem, it's only for I can use it for streaming, and it will be used for streaming, but I can also have my hotspot there. The other 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, hey, they're for streaming, and I just have
let's
this
stay
one
that
for,
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's really important to make sure you pick one that's not priority.
Mm.
So um, the priority one, there's already a lot of traffic flying over it to core. So it makes it easy to set up, but whatever modem you have, you can actually go in there and select, and you can do that from core as well.
Right. So if there are any other questions, please reach out to us. Live at teradek.com is our general email box there, or like Tyler gave out his personal one, or not personal, but work one. Hit him up all you want, because he doesn't get enough emails during the day.
Oh man.
But yes, thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you do have any questions, please get a hold of us. We are more than happy to answer anything you got. And stay tuned for the next one. Visit teradek.com/prism for any additional information you need on Prism, and to kind of check on where we are with our hardware development as well. We have new 877 cards coming out for the rack that have SD cards in them and a bunch of other cool features. So
Yeah, we'll have a whole nother webinar on that one.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But while you're waiting, teradek.com/prism or live at teradek.com, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.